All right, hello and welcome to our next episode of Babbling Alchemy. So, we're going to continue our discussion from yesterday about Babylon, languages, dialects, one singular language at the core of it all, and also the connections to alchemy and to religion. So, thanks for joining us again, brother.
Thank you.
And we're going to continue our discussion into alchemy. And let's start with, I think, a very interesting question today. So, the first question we'll kick off with for this episode is, what is the relation between alchemy and religion?
That's a very good question, actually. Whenever you do want more from religion, so religion will get you to the shore, but then what?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you always, if you're a wanderer and you're wondering why you're here, what are you doing here, what's the purpose of life and all this, alchemy will become extremely handy in answering those questions. Because then, okay, you've done your part. You followed the regiment of the religion. You became regimented.
Mm-hmm.
You've done the do's and the don'ts. You've not got bogged down by the vices which the religion protects you from.
Yeah.
So you don't waste time.
Mm-hmm.
The most important part of religion is to basically regiment you and to make you into the grade A man that you are, the grade A soldier that you are, because you're here you're searching for meaning, right?
Teach you how to value your
if
time.
you do waste your time smoking weed, drinking alcohol, chasing tail and all that, you're wasting your time.
Yeah,
that's it. You've already lost so much. Time is the most valuable thing that is God given to you.
Yeah.
And before time is up, religion will play as the protection, the fail-safe thing that will basically get you there safely. It's safety. That's all there is to it. It's a regiment to keep you safe. Once you arrive at the shoreline, then the real work will begin.
Yeah.
Then you say, okay, because you'll be rewarded. You know, everybody who will follow and will adhere to religion in general, uncorrupted, will arrive at the same shoreline. And that shoreline, now real work will begin. Because before it was all training. You've been trained, you know, to do certain things and to not pay attention to any vices and not to get bogged down. Yeah.
Okay. And can you explain to us the concept of khilafah?
Okay, so the concept of khilafah is when if we go to the screen share, please. So we take the word khalafa. So it's the same as saying the word takhallafa. Means stayed behind, to stay behind.
Okay.
And khalf means behind. Khalf means behind. So if you were left behind, it means he who is left behind. The Khalifa of Allah is any person. Every person is a Khalifa of God here on earth. So he, the person who's left behind. So why were you deserted here
on earth?
On earth,
yeah.
Earth will become your metaphysical sandbox, in which you basically come up with, try to wonder and look for meaning.
To act.
Yeah, and that will take us into what God said in the meme. So when you were left and you were deserted, God said, let him cook. You know?
Yeah.
So God gave you all the ingredients to cook. And this becomes extremely apparent when you read the story of Joseph, when he was left, when he was taken into Egypt.
Right.
And he was deserted by his brothers.
Into the well. Thrown into the well.
He was thrown into the well. This is a proverbial well. He was thrown into the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is mythology, right? For you to understand, what does God want me to understand? How can I cook? So that's when he entered Wonderland.
Yeah.
You've done religion throughout your life, and then you wanted, and then what?
Yeah.
And then what? And then what? Then what? Alchemy will comes to save you. Alchemy will be your savior in this case, because then if you do not, if you're not fulfilled, you'll be hungry.
Right.
And if you're hungry, you'll be depressed. We're talking about proverbial hunger here. That's why God will save you, as we will explain later, through the Hunger Games.
Right.
When you are searching for meaning, and this is when you get activated.
You said earlier that alchemy is the deeper or the deepest part of religion. How do we arrive at this statement?
So as we explained earlier, religion is only there to get you to the shoreline safely. Once you get to the shoreline, then your real work will begin. The shoreline is a type of desert, right? You are deserted then.
Yes.
From the ship leaves.
Correct. Abandoned.
Yeah, you abandon the ship, and then you go into safety, and that safety is your alchemy. That's the shore, the shoreline, and then you want to enter Jannah. So behind the shoreline, as you enter any island, you are met with the proverbial desert, right?
Yeah.
And in that desert, God said, "Let him cook now." Like it's hot.
Yeah.
It's but we're talking about as earth. When you change perspective, earth will become the place where ingredients are, and the forms of ingredients for the alchemist are words. So everything you meet will basically impart a meaning to you. That would be when you start to wander and enter Wonderland. Entering Wonderland, you'll start to through the looking glass. So if we can go back to the Wonderland, as you can see, we can extract so much wisdom out of this scene. So here the scene is Alice in Wonderland, which represents you, the soul, and the tea here is you're drinking the tea of the Mad Hatter. The Mad Hatter is Majnoon. The Majnoon is another way of saying he who lives behind the wall. And if you see the Alice in Wonderland goes through the wall where you see Humpty Dumpty.
Yeah.
And he sat on the wall, right?
Yes.
And then he will have a great fall, right? He falls down. So what does that mean? It means the wall fell down. Not Humpty Dumpty itself. So you're looking, why? So how do you change your way of thinking? So Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. So he's related to the wall. You have to establish that link. So the wall that Humpty Dumpty sat on fell. And what's behind the wall? The Jannah is behind the wall.
So both possibilities are probable if you change your perspective.
Everything is possible. So this is where you're entering hyperspace. You go through the rabbit hole, and then you enter hyperspace where everything is possible. That's why you meet the Mad Hatter. The Mad Hatter, it's madness in there. So you have to make sense of that madness that is happening. Everything is hyper connected. We're just not aware of it because we just see the foreground, but the background, everything is hyper connected and hyper morpheus. It morphs into so many meanings. So you put you place a meaning on anything.
So how do you make sense?
And it's all through perspective. The looking glass,
right,
is your perspective.
Right.
What is your looking glass? On the wall, what is your looking glass on Humpty Dumpty?
How do you make sense of that madness? Like you said, when you enter Wonderland, you're drinking the tea from the Mad Hatter, the Majnoon, which is madness. How do you make sense of that? To enter that,
you have to go back to words, and nomenclature. When you start to decipher what's behind the word,
Etymology again.
Etymology, we're gonna have to go back to frequency. The base of all languages is tunes, music, frequency.
Yeah.
And
Sound.
frequency is ones and zeros again. It's code. Everything is coded. Everything is encoded within a name, and furthermore encoded within frequency, and furthermore encoded within code, ones and zeros.
Right.
Or as it is in the
waves, sine waves, so on.
Absolutely, but when it goes to the quantum, it's not 1 and 0, it's 1 and 9.
Yeah.
Because 9 is everything, and 9 is 0 at the same time. We'll extrapolate on that later, but for now, we're here to change your perspective, how you look at things.
Yeah.
Do not look at the egg and the wall as a separate entity. I want you to see that whatever is happening to the egg is affecting the wall.
Yeah.
So when Humpty Dumpty fell, that means the wall that is connected to him collapsed.
Yeah.
Because this is the collapse of the wave function, right?
Yeah.
The same will be taken. You can dig deeper into quantum physics and the madness of quantum physics. And if you ask any physicist about quantum physics, they'll tell you it's
madness.
Madness.
It's madness.
Yes, absolutely. So anything we're talking about here, scientific facts based on madness.
Yeah.
Everything in our reality is based on what? Is based on madness, right? And that's how we're trying to change your perspective and making you a better decoder of what the names are trying to give you. Because every name is a code.
Right.
Like you have code name such and such. But really, when you go to the nitty and the gritty, it's zeros and ones. It's all code.
Numbers.
Yeah.
Numbers, essentially.
You become the Neo, right?
Yeah.
You become the Neo, and you try to give meaning to everything. It's perspective. How do you perceive the wall? How do you perceive Humpty Dumpty? How do you perceive the T? What is the T? The T is Dem T.
Yeah.
And DMT is basically what you produce to dream.
Yeah.
DMT and Dem is blood, and T is the cross.
Right.
And DMT, dimethyltryptamine, is the most hallucinogenic substance known to man. And lo and behold, you produce this naturally. You know? You produce this every time you go and you dream.
Sleep, yeah.
And it brings about a lot of order as well within the human body. Brings about your circadian rhythm. It brings about so much benefits. So we will actually benefit a lot from dreaming a little bit more.
Nice. So speaking of dreaming and dreams that everybody, knows to some degree or fashion is mythology. So how does mythology help, and how does studying mythology help us in this alchemical quest of ours?
Okay, so mythology in general is let's take the word mythology. 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 We go back to etymology in order to decipher the meaning.
Yeah.
Mytho is mythal from Arabic, which is mithal, which is an example of. Which is mathala. Mathala comes to act. Logi is the language of,
right?
The language of acting. So I'm gonna enact to you something to teach you deeper truths that you are not able to comprehend without the mythology.
Yeah, examples.
So all mythology and their pantheons are examples for you to understand deeper realities. And stonework, masonry, statues.
Yeah.
What symbology? It's all based on symbology. Because through symbology, you can tell so much and so little at the same time.
Right.
It depends how wide your consciousness is, how much work you've placed on expanding that consciousness. Because your consciousness will able to read according to what you have in terms of deciphering.
Yeah.
It will able to help you only when you have put in the work.
Okay.
Zooming in, basically. You demystify.
Mm.
You become the mystic that you need to be. The mystic is the one who goes to everything and tells and asks that thing. What's with you?
Yeah.
You have to ask the chair, what's with you?
Mm.
It takes some sort of madness, but there is a way to this madness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you enter into this alchemical quest and into the world of mythology and wordplay, feels a little bit like this when you
because you're hungry for meaning.
It feels like a Hunger Games of sorts.
Yes, the Hunger Games tell you a lot because you're hungry for meaning.
Right.
Why do you think everybody loves films? Because it's all Hollywood.
Yeah.
The wood, the magic wand. That stories. People are
entranced.
Basically, you are made to love stories. Stories tell you a lot of because it's a form of information transfer. But like stories can have double meanings. So I can tell a story to someone and somebody else hears it completely differently. And that will depend. That is like when you choose to dig more.
Yeah.
It depends how superficial you are or how deep you are. It depends how everybody hears the story differently.
Right.
How hyper connected you are, how disconnected you are. It's all duality. That's why opposites makes things so easy.
Yeah.
To understand. You understand everything by its antithesis.
So the movies, why they're so popular, why people get attached to them, and they can extract so much from them is, again, they're visual art forms or visual storytelling that contain examples to the nth degree, right? There's so much angles and perspectives you can shift to extract all kinds of information from them. If a picture is, like they say, worth 1,000 words, then if a movie has 30 frames per second and it's an hour and a half long movie, imagine how many thousands and thousands of pictures and knowledge that would have hidden within it. Is that the attraction and the
but how much can you see then? It all depends. How big is your looking glass? And how big is your magnifying glass, right? And this is what I teach you. The whole premise of alchemy is to change your perspective and increase your magnifying glass, to zoom in, right? To lock in, to be able to absorb at much faster speed. In order for you to do that, you have to put in the training. You have to listen to all those podcasts. You have to re-listen to them again. Every time you will listen and re-listen again, you'll find something new.
New meanings.
You're not going to be able to make it from first time. It might look all over the place. It might look chaotic, but alchemy in general is chaos. And then eventually it settles down. Like any chemical reaction.
Yeah, distillation.
Yeah, any chemical reaction starts with, chaos. And then it settles down and then it becomes compound.
Purified. Yeah.
Like it becomes clear.
Right.
Whenever you combine two components together, the reaction itself is not it's not a reaction that happens in an ordered manner. It happens. It starts as chaos.
Yeah.
This might sound to you as chaos, but the more you listen to it, the more sense you're able to make. And you do need to have the sincerity. You need to be sincere. If you want to understand more, you need to be patient as well. Yeah.
All right, so we'll go from there into being examined and some trolls under the bridge. So what does this metaphor represent for us as we're on this quest?
It represents to you so many holy logos, holy examples, such as the cross And in Islam, it's called the Sirat al-Mustaqim,
Mm.
the place, the extremely thin place to pass on
The bridge.
the bridge. But under the bridge, there's always the troll.
Mm.
So you approach this troll. Everybody looks at the troll in as an enemy that you need to beat, and then you need to basically cross, right?
Mhm.
But I want you to look at the troll
Mhm.
as a frenemy at the beginning, at least.
Yeah.
And ask him what is wrong, what is up with you, because the troll basically will try,
Mm.
will give you what it wants, but
Mhm.
it's going to be encrypted.
Yeah. In the riddle.
It's going to be
Form
a
of
riddle.
Yeah.
If you solve that riddle, you solve a riddle that he is facing.
Mm.
So he only gave you that riddle, so it can be beneficial for both of you. So he's
Yeah.
not going to let you pass. He's not going to give you the password
Mm.
unless you solve the riddle.
The password.
Yeah.
The word to
Because,
pass.
you know, what did Jesus say on the cross?
Yeah.
I am, let's say Jesus said, I am the word, right?
Mm.
And he died on the cross.
Mm.
What does that make him?
Mm.
Crossword.
Crossword.
Which means password
Yes.
into the kingdom.
Yes.
So throughout and
Yeah.
even if you look at the cross, you know, the meaning of the cross. Let's examine the cross a little bit more. Go back to the troll, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So when you pass the bridge,
Mhm.
you become the act of crossing is called abara.
Okay.
Abara in Arabic, it means to pass.
Okay.
Okay. So when you turn that and you take it into he who crossed is al-Ibraniyun.
Okay.
Ibraniyun are Hebron.
Hebrons.
Yeah.
Mm.
They those who crossed the Red Sea.
Yeah.
The Red Sea means they crossed onto safety.
Yeah.
And then we're talking about again the Sharia
Mm.
and alchemy into the promised land, right?
Yeah.
This is all allegories in order for you to understand deeper realities. So when you do speak about the cross, the Sirat al-Mustaqim, Hebron and Abara, it's all about the password. Tell me the password and I'll let you pass.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when Gandalf came and he said, you shall not pass, right?
Yes.
If you dispel his spell, you're able to pass, right?
Yeah.
Even if you're the monster,
Yeah.
if you knew how to dispel his spell, you're able to pass.
Right.
Yeah, so you shouldn't destroy the bridge. That's why we always talk about building bridges.
Yeah.
So that's why when you build bridges, and then
frenemies into friends.
You build a rapport with the troll. It'll be water under the bridge instead of troll under the bridge.
Very nice. Okay.
You try to solve problems.
Yeah.
Instead of making everybody an enemy to you and everybody is out to get you. Try to see things from their perspective. Change their perspective, your perspective, and put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah.
So that's why, you know, you have the Cinderella and the shoes that fits and doesn't fit. Why does it fit and doesn't fit?
Yeah.
Because her shoes is different than her sister's shoes. So their sisters, her sisters had valid problems, you know. So if you put yourself in their shoes, you'll understand their point of view as well.
Perspective.
Yeah, it's perspective. And she had her own problems as well.
Yeah.
Everybody have their own problem.
Yeah.
But the problem is, who cares? If you care, you can make those enemies friends. You'll no longer be even in the gray zone or the quantum zone, where frenemy could be, you know, a friend or an enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so to wrap this up, you know, as we started at the beginning, you know, the relation between alchemy and religion, you know, the desire to know more and getting beyond just the regiment, which gets you into discipline and gets you ready for the real challenge at hand. You need to, so once you have your heart settled with religion and that regiment and routine, but you're hungry for more, like you said, you know, then what?
Okay.
So that leads you down the path of alchemy and following its methodology.
Okay. How do you use mythology? right? How do you use mythology to enrich yourself?
Correct.
Mythology is there, scripture in general is there to enrich you in that domain. How do you use that? You use that by looking at ringing words within every mythological story, right?
Yeah.
So you look at the ringing name. Does that, and then you look at the church, right?
Yeah.
The church tells you stories, but before those stories, they ring a bell.
Yeah.
Right? Does that ring a bell?
Yes.
So the same way, what does the church means in Arabic? In Arabic, it means kanasa, kanisa, kanisa, and kanasa is from somebody who vacuumed, and you're here to vacuum those meanings of those,
to collect them,
to collect,
acquire.
Yeah, but to basically drag on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like dragons.
Right.
You become the dragon.
Yeah.
He who drags on the meaning. He who takes all the meaning in.
Yeah.
Absorbing. Kanisa is to absorbing air in general, vacuum. Yeah.
Great.
So how you look at every name and what it's trying to tell you. You have to think slowly. You have to introspect. You have to slow down. Take out all your social media and all that stuff and try to think,
focus
in a more focused manner. And this way you're able to develop a longer span of focus and to sharpen your focus.
Right.
Because focus is something that you can also work on. And then you're able to discern more. You're able to tell more. Yeah. Every single ringing word within mythology will basically be, does that ring a bell? Eventually, working enough at those things will ring bells every single time.
Yeah.
Because this is, again, a knack that you develop, right?
Yeah.
This is a profession. You become proficient at alchemy.
Right. Okay, so that's a great summary. Thank you very much, brother, for that discussion. So, as we said, if you're hungry for more and what's next, so what? If you're asking these questions, then alchemy offers you a solution. Mythology offers you plenty of examples and theater, and like I said, analogies from which to learn once you dig in and demystify them. So I think we'll leave this episode on that very heavy note, and we'll continue the next time. So thanks very much for listening, everybody, and thank you, brother. We'll see you all next time.
Amazing. Thank you.